Hello, 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 and welcome back to my channel. Or if this is your first time here, I want to say welcome. Today I have a story time, and the story time is inspired by a conversation or brief chat that I had with a couple of girlfriends yesterday. And this all started from one of my friends. She went to Vegas to see Jodeci in concert and was sharing videos, pics or what have you of that experience. That is what triggered me, and I'm going to tell you why. So way back in the day, I want to say it had to be late 90s. I can't remember what year they finally started getting played on the radio, but it was before that. So this would have been before Jodeci were a thing, were discovered, I guess is the word. So back in the day, I lived in Florida. That's where I guess my accent comes from. And they would come to this little studio that was in St. Petersburg, Florida. And I'm going somewhere with this. And I'm not going to talk about Jodeci on this. This video is not about Jodeci at all. But it triggered the memory because at this studio, we'll just say like this, I had obtained their demo tape, and I was so in love with this demo tape. I drove around this demo tape until literally I was in Maryland at the time because I moved up and down the East Coast a lot. I was in Maryland at the time, and I was leaving the mall, and I remember hearing one of the songs off this demo tape getting played on the radio. And I literally jumped out of the car and was dancing in the parking lot like this was me getting discovered. And back then I was a musician, so I really felt that. I felt that win for them. So it brought back all those memories. But the part about the studio, why was I at this studio? Well, again, I was into music back then, okay? And I dated a lot of musicians, a lot of people that had similar interests to me. All right, so I was dating a musician who actually, he was a singer, okay? Singer, he wrote songs, sang in a group. And he did a lot of work, not worked, but he did a lot of his work at this studio, and one of his, I guess you call him bandmates, was involved with this studio. I don't want to say too much or give away too many details, but so all those memories of all of that just came flooding back. And then I started thinking about this guy, the guy I'm talking about. And I have such a funny story about him. I'm going to say we did not date that long. Part of the first part of the time that we started to date was when I was still living at home. And the second part of this, I had to move out, and I'll share all of that experience one day. I don't know when, but it's gonna take time. The second part of the experience of me dating him, I was living outside of the home. At any rate, it was just a span of a few short months, though, if I remember correctly. Okay, so I'm dating this guy. I'm gonna call him Jason. So I'm dating this guy, Jason. He was, I want to say, maybe slightly older than me, not much. We were around the same age group. He had a phenomenal voice. This man could sing. I mean, I think I was more in love with his voice than I was with him. Again, I was so into music. Like that was just the weight of my heart. Like now, food is my love language, but music was my love language back then. It really was. I ate, slept, breathed music. And there's a reason for that. I think with all the trauma that I've gone through my whole life, that was my therapy. It literally became my therapy. I wrote music. I would sing. I was in music videos. I was doing all kinds of things with music. Nothing tasteless, okay? But anyway, I wrote poetry, things like that. I rapped. I did all of it, okay? So, I digress. But I'm dating this guy. We're going to call him Jason. Could sing. Oh my goodness, he could sing. I mean, he had phenomenal voice. I don't even know what happened to him. To this day, I have no idea. But this is what happened back then, all right? So I'm dating this guy. He still lived, I want to say, with his mother or grandmother. I can't remember which one, but he was not living on his own. He wasn't capable. It was kind of a bum, to be honest. But I mean, a lot of us musicians were not that. Did not have a lot of money. We're starving artists. So I guess I'm going to call him a starving artist, okay? And I didn't judge him for that. Because like I said, music was my love language. It wasn't about money. It was the passion for the music. We had a passion for the same thing. That was our connection, okay? So Jason would carry around this backpack. That is just what I remember about him. He would carry around this backpack that had that African print on it, like from like back, that was popular back then, like you would see on In Living Colors. And and every time I think about Jason, I think about that backpack. The backpack's gonna come into the story here in a bit. But he had that backpack with him everywhere he went. Like, he always carried this backpack. Anyway, I noticed, now back then we didn't have cell phones. A few people had beepers if you could afford the $8.95 a month or whatever it was. I'm a Gen Zer, by the way. If you could afford a beeper, that's what you had. I don't recall him having a beeper. I didn't have a beeper at that time. I grew up in poverty. So there were moments I had and there were moments I didn't have. And I don't think I really had much then. I had a little bit. I had a little car, but that's about it. And I worked 3 jobs. So I was on the struggle bus. Anyway, I said all that to say, he would guard this backpack with his life, and he seemed to be associated with a lot of females. And I can't remember all the details, but what I do remember is there was this one particular female that stood out to all the females he would talk, and he would openly talk about this female to me. You know, and that's kind of what manipulative people might do. This kind of almost sounds like triangulating. I'm not going to say he's a narcissist. I don't think he was a narcissist. He was just toxic. Everybody's not a narcissist. Everyone's not a narcissist. So I don't want to put across that impression that everyone walking the planet is narcissist. Now, a lot of us have narcissistic tendencies, and we could maybe have narcissistic traits. You know, a lot of people can. But I'm not going to say that he's a narcissist or anything like that. But what I am going to say is he would bring up this girl on a regular basis. And we're going to call her Karina. So he would bring up Karina, and she had, in real life, a very, very, very creative name. So it's something you would never forget, never confuse with anyone else. Obviously, her name was not really Karina, but it was a beautiful name. But it was very, very creative, very unique, and it stood out. So every time he brought her up, I'm like, that name again. Why you keep bringing this person up? But he was bringing it up like, oh, this person's stalking me. This person is this person's that. She won't leave me alone. Like that. Trying to triangulate me against this person. I didn't know who this person was. Never seen her before. And he's volunteering this information, right? So anyway, to make a long story short, one day, I'm making the long story very, very short. One day, Jason left his backpack at my house because he would just kind of bum around from house to house to house to house, go to his grandma's, his mom's, wherever he was going, studio, his friends. He just bummed around, took this backpack around. He made a fatal mistake of leaving this backpack. And I just could not wait to get my hands on this backpack and see what was in it. Like, why does he have to drag this thing around? Like, what is in there? What is so important? Well, I hit the jackpot because I found a phone book. Because back then we had phone books. We had actual phone books where you write names and numbers in there. Like, we didn't have cell phones. So hilarious. But I found this phone book. Go into the phone book. And I find, out of all the names in this phone book, mind you, there were names for days. I mean, there were tons of female names in there. But Karina's name just was flashing. And he had her name written in the phone book. So I was like, ooh, there's that Karina. Well, if she's stalking him, why is he got her number in his phone book and this and this and that. So I enlisted someone I knew. I'm going to make her anonymous. I'm going to call her Lisa. Someone I was close to. Me and Lisa, were going through his backpack. And I said, I want to call this Karina. I just want to call her. Like, not to start anything. I was not that type of person. Like, I did not want to start anything with her. I wanted the truth. I wanted to know why he keeps bringing up her name. Like, I want to know her version of the story. Really, really bad. I've always been a detective. So we get on the house phone and call up Karina. And I had Lisa on the phone with me, just as kind of like, I guess, backup, to back up what I was saying and things like that. Not that she had to believe either one of us, but it just kind of helped me feel better to have her on there for support. So we called Karina, and I was surprised I got a hold of her. And we're talking. I said, look, I'm not coming at you to like start anything. I just want to know the truth. I'm dating Jason. And every time I'm with him, he's talking about you, but he's saying you're stalking him and this and that. And I want to know what's going on, And then she was like, So we got into talking to each other. She had never heard of me. It did not know he was dating me. And of course, she had a different version of events, right? Which, honestly, I'm not going to say I didn't believe her. I totally believed her. And I was like, okay. All right. What do we do now? Long story short, we devised a plan. That's the only way out of this. So neither one of us told him that we talked to each other and didn't act different, didn't act like anything changed. But there was a Martin Luther King parade coming up in St. Pete. So we arranged a meeting there, and we met for the first time face to face at this parade. It was her sister, me, and Lisa. We had a ball at this parade. I mean, we had so much fun. Me and Karina clicked so much. We would like forget about Jason. But we liked each other. We ended up really liking each other. And we were all getting along, all four of us. So we said we were going to set a trap. Mind you, I was very young then. Very young. I would not do that now. I'm a grandmother now, but so we set a trap. Lisa and I decided to spend the night at her house. She lived on her own. She had kids and everything, so she lived on her own. And it's unfortunate, that she had kids and had to get dragged into this crazy mess. But we went to her house. We spent the night. Yes, Lisa and I spent the night there. And she invited him over he brought someone with him, some guy. I can't remember even who he brought with him. But he made himself comfortable downstairs with his friend. They were all in a dining room playing cards or dominoes or something. And Lisa and I were hiding upstairs. And we're just listening to them like, doesn't sound like she's talking him to me. So we knew 100% beyond a shadow of a doubt, that was all bullcrap. And we know now that that's what they do, right? And that's what they do. They tell stories to pit people against each other, to make opposing teams out of their girlfriends or wives. But anyway, we hear all this going on. We let them just enjoy themselves for a while, good maybe hour or so. And then finally, Lisa and I look at each other like, let's go on downstairs. We had our pajamas on and everything. Like, we were really playing the whole role of, we're just here spending the night. So excuse me, my throat's dry. So we go downstairs, and I walk into the kitchen, and I was like, "Hey, Karina, where are your cups at? I need to get some water." And then all of a sudden I hear like something get slammed on the table and just like silence. And I was like, "Karina?" And then I came around the corner, peeked my head around the corner, and I was like, "Jason, what are you doing here?" I mean, the acting was so bad. He was like, "What do you mean I'm doing here?" And he threw his chair back and jumped up and started screaming. That's when the deflection came in and started attacking me. Like I did something wrong. You are dating both of us. You're sitting in her house. You told me she was stalking you, but now you're attacking me for saying, "Jason, what are you doing here?" Next thing you know, he started to get violent. He started to get violent because he was trying to, protect himself, defend himself, even though he was completely the one in the wrong. And her sister came down and started like defending everybody, ready to fight him. I can't even remember, but it did escalate. This whole situation escalated. I'm not even going to say how bad it got, but it got pretty bad. To the point where he ended up running out of the back sliding glass door. His friend was running out, and they disappeared into the night. And we were so worked up and so angry at that point. Like, how dare he just flip it around on us and then try to get violent with us. So then we started chasing him around the neighborhood. So bad. So bad. Mind you, it was just adults in the house. There were no kids there. So just giving that disclaimer, there were no kids there. It was just all adults in the house. So we're chasing Jason and his friend around the neighborhood, and we don't know. He just disappeared. And that was that. That was the end of it. That was how both of our relationships ended with Jason. To summarize what happened there is I'm still friends with Karina. Still friends. Mind you, we live in different states and we don't hang out, but for many years we did. For many years we hung out. We've developed a good friendship. I still consider her my friend. We're friends on social media. We keep in touch. Not as heavily as I think we should, but she was a really good person. And I think she could say the same thing about me. So it's funny how that whole thing turned into a nice friendship that can carry on for decades. Oh, good old Jason trying to triangulate us against each other. Didn't work out. So I just wanted to hop on and share that story because, when you're caught in a situation like this, don't always take it out on the woman. Because she might be completely clueless about what's going on. Like, she might not even know you exist. She might be getting fed lies about your existence. There's a whole myriad of things. Your beef is not with her. It's with a person that's cheating on you, right? So that's one of the biggest lessons in this. Also, don't date musicians. No, just kidding. That's not the lesson in this. Also, like I said, when I look back at my life, starting from a young age, the people I was attracted to were mostly toxic. Just back-to-back relationships. And then it literally took decades for me to sit down and figure out what part of me is broken, is attracting these types of relationships. It wasn't always narcissists. But just toxicity, cheaters, liars, people that maybe not be emotionally available, things like that. And I'm going to share a lot of those experiences, even experiences that would be considered illegal, that are illegal, relationships that I was caught up in. Like, I've been caught up in some bad things, and I'm going to share them, but it's going to take time. So if you hang with me and you stick around, you'll get to go through these experiences with me and maybe learn something from some of it or help someone else with something that I might share. So that's why I'm sharing this story today, and there'll be more to come. And hopefully, you had a wonderful weekend. And I will be back soon with more story times and more topics. Thanks. Have a great week. Bye.